Today I'm going to teach you how to use pipe chain and turn them into beads, and we're going to knot leather between these beads. This is going to give a very rich pop of texture and color to your design with using just a few materials. These are some of my favorite projects because the effort required looks, well, it's so much less than what the outcome is, which is going to be a really unique, detail-oriented, and classy necklace. So I'm super excited about this. My name is Nilay Patel. I'm the owner, designer, and educator here at SilverSilk and more, and my job is to bring you guys fun and fashionable tips, tricks, tutorials using SilverSilk. So you can definitely follow me by doing a couple things. First of all, like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. There you can find a giant library of all sorts of video tutorials and tips and tricks for using all the different lines of SilverSilk. The next is just to follow my Instagram. I've got a ton of inspirational photos on there, and folks are all up to all kinds of SilverSilk fun. So I'm constantly posting stuff onto my story and some reels that you guys can get really inspired from. So I'm actually just gonna turn around to my workboard. So let me flash the photo of the finished design and let's get started. So as I mentioned, we just need a few materials. The first is, of course, pipe chain, which looks like this. And this is originally in a 3-foot spool, but I went ahead and cut them into little pieces. These are going to be the size of my beads, so to speak. They're going to be tubular beads. Very easy to cut. I'll demonstrate how to do one real quick, since these are a little uneven, and I think I could do a better job to even them up just a smidge. So you will need pipe chain. And again, it comes in a 3-foot spool in 10 different colors, so you could really use your best beads, pendants, whatever, and really match the color up to any one of those with this design. This one, by the way, is the silver on black. And another thing that I forgot to mention is that pipe chain is, because I didn't even describe it, it is a silicone rubber tubing that has knitted wire woven on top of it. Pretty simple description. I do recommend, though, if you are allergic to any types of rubber or silicone, this is probably not the chain for you to use. But if you have no allergies to any such materials, you are going to have so much fun using this. It doesn't require any special findings or any special tools even to use. You can string it through with wire or, beading wire and craft wire. You can put memory wire through it. Stretchy cord goes through it really well. It's got a 1mm hole, as you can kind of see. It's a little hard to see with the black rubber tubing there. But essentially, you can string it onto whatever you need to and create your own finishings at the end. So this is really what makes it a fun, versatile product, and why I'm excited to use it today, especially with leather, because that is another type of stringing material that you can string very easily through this. Okay, outside of that, I've got a head pin because I wanted to create a little bauble at the bottom there, and a little glass drop bead. Very easy. Let's actually go ahead and just make our drop since we're here already. I'm just going to string it onto my head pin. Tools-wise, I've got a cutter. That's going to help me. I'm going to cut a 1/2 inch above my bead. And I'm going to grab another pair of pliers, my chain nose. And I'm going to grasp the tip into my chain nose pliers. I want a fairly decent sized loop, meaning probably around 2 to 3 millimeters. So I'm just going to make sure that the top is nice and flush, and then just rotate my pliers around. And you'll see that I've got a nice, pretty good sized loop there, what I set out to accomplish, which was a 2 to 3 millimeter loop. So what I need to do is now break the neck or center my loop by taking the neck of my loop with some chain nose pliers, that's these guys right here, and I'm going to just twist back toward me, and my loop is now centered, and I've got a little bobble that's all ready to go. Okay, You are going to need a button or a clasp of your choice. I chose a button because I like the decorative look and it takes out some of the, I guess, the complications that a clasp can have. Buttons are just so much easier to put on, right? So why not use it? And then I've got a little moth here that is a TierraCast component with holes that you can use to string on your necklace. Really, you can use any sort of pendant or bead that you want to. It just depends on how you're wanting to fasten it together. This one kind of has my steps laid out for me, essentially, because they've got a hole at all these different ends here, including the top here too, which I didn't really use in the design. But I know these on the side of the wings will come in handy. And as you can see, I kind of went ahead and strung up one side of it just to show you what we're going to accomplish with our second side here. So again, this is going to be really fairly easy to put together. And the last thing you do need, which is the most important, is of course your leather cord. This is 1mm leather cord. And if you've got about 3 to 4 feet of this stuff, you'll have plenty on hand to work with. I believe each side takes about 18 to 20 inches between all the knots and everything. So yeah, just I think having a yard, maybe yard and a half if you have the availability for it, would be perfect. So I went and cut half of that for me to work with here. Of course, our bobble is going to go down here at the bottom, but that's more of a finishing touch, so I'm just going to leave that out for now. I'm going to go ahead and get started just by knotting on this one wing. So I'm just going to string my cord right up through that wing hole, and I'm going to knot it twice. At this point, if you really want some security, and I believe I do, but forgot to grab my glue with me, which okay, it's okay. I can always do that after the video, right? I'm knotting it twice. I did an overhand knot twice, and at this point, you can apply a little bit of Loctite glue just to keep it nice and secure. A little dabble of glue will be more than enough to really keep it in place. You don't need to go too over the top. But in any case, you can also, secure it by stringing on one of your tube beads here. Now, I wanted to make sure that these were going to be even, first of all. So let me go ahead and measure these. Okay, it looks like the one here is just a little bit too big. So let me show you what happens when you cut pipe chain. When you cut it, you'll notice that there's going to be a few of the little wire pieces that kind of stick out at the end. And they're actually not secure. They can actually come right out. So I recommend, if you have the time, to pluck these individual little pieces out. That way it doesn't poke you later down the road. I call these wire fuzzies. And if you're familiar with that term, you'll know that they are on all the different chains that I carry. It's just little wire knits that have been cut in half and really just don't have any way to stay on there. So I just pluck them right out, and they tend to get in the way of crimping if you do use crimps with some of the other chains. In this case, I just want them to be out of the way and make sure that they don't, fall out later on or can poke anyone or anything. So just better to pluck them out of the way. After that, you are golden. You can simply just string your leather cord right through. And with this little extra tail, I'm actually just going to insert it right in. And that'll be a good way to hide it. And it keeps it nice and secure too. So you kind of have to just push against it with the pipe chain, but otherwise it just fits in so perfectly and so snug. Now, the size of your beads is one thing that I forgot to cover. So I got these to be about 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches. Truly, the smaller you cut the bead of the pipe chain, the more of a art you're going to get with your necklace. Think of it sort of like a polygon. So if you have a 5-sided polygon, it's going to be very angular when it's a circle. Now, if you have a 23-side polygon, it's going to be very spherical. So this kind of works in the same way as many facets as you have. So like if you have less cuts within your chain, it's going to be very angular. And the more small and fine the beads are, the more of a string-like arc you're going to get with the beads, just because they're smaller and they have the ability to create something that is more round. So I kind of chose a halfway between state for this one. I made 5 beads in total, which gives me enough of a drape or an arc that I need, or arch that I need to be able to create my necklace, and have it, again, just drape pretty easily. So now all I have to do is just create little knots in between. So I just did 2 overhand knots between each bead, and this gives it that nice little pop of red without too many, without having to add too many other elements to this. Okay. So it's just a matter of stringing and repeating at this point. So just go ahead and continue your knots as such. Okay, and remember you're going to do 2 in between. This gives it a nice meaty knot, I feel like, more so than just the single one. And the 1mm leather cord just makes it so easy to create these knots too. Okay. And earlier I had went ahead and took out all of my little wire fuzzies so that it would be ready for the video. So you guys can probably do that a little bit ahead of time as well and get your beads all ready to go. I also cut my beads to be the length of a mid-size necklace. So that's something for you guys to think about as well. If you're wanting to have a longer necklace, then you would simply just cut more beads, just depending again on the length of them. Okay, got a little bit of a dulled end there, so I'm just gonna cut that right off. Help me string all this through pretty easily. All right. So we're getting to our last bead here. So you can see this pipe chain is so easy to work with. Gives that subtle, intricate detail that SilverSilk is known for, but just in a different format and medium that makes it more accessible for beading. Don't get me wrong, I love my original capture chain and everything. And its use is just different from this one. I guess it's kind of comparing apples and oranges in a way, just depending on the look and technique that you're wanting to execute. So I'm just adding to the library and the fun of what SilverSilk is. Perfecto. So now I can string on my clasp, and I'm just going to do, let's see, I think I'm going to do another knot, but I'm going to do one at the same time. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to string my button onto my leather cord, and I'm going to go ahead and create my square knot. So at this point, I think what I can do is sort of tighten this as I go along, and that's going to get me hopefully close enough to the other knot and still be able to have it nice and secure once I kind of pull everything nice and tight. And if you wanted, you can even add extra beads in between, or really just use any sort of extra spacers if you wanted to. That button looks a little far out, but I think because I have to have it clasp as such, plus to be able to balance out this extra area here, it makes sense to have it a little bit further out. But you guys can, of course, customize it to your liking. Now, here again, I would use some Loctite and get that nice and secured before I trim it off. But for the sake of the video, I'm going to go trim it off and then put my glue on a little bit later. But that's really about all it takes to create that knotted necklace, as you can see. And now all I have to do to complete the design is add my little bauble here at the end that we made earlier. Perfect. And that, folks, is how you create beads from pipe chain and knot it in between with leather cord. So let me flip around back to the main photo here. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial as much as I did teaching it. Again, give my video a big thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you won't miss out on any new videos from SilverSilk, because I'm always putting up content on here, and the creativity that it comes with is just so fun and powerful, and helps you guys out there create all these wonderful designs for yourself. And I've also got a community called the SilverSilk Silkies, where folks who do these tutorials then post it in our Facebook group. And man, it's just mind-blowing. It's always just such a delight to see how they've either replicated the tutorial or they've really taken it and made it their own through some change in color or format or style. And it's just phenomenal. Don't forget to check out my Instagram and follow me there. And then I've also got text notifications from SilverSilk, which you can find in the description below if you are wanting to really get connected with SilverSilk. Again, my name is Nilay Patel, and I'm the owner, designer, and educator here at SilverSilk and more. And thank you guys so much for checking out this tutorial, and I'll see you again next time. Hugs to all of you out there, and see you next time.